Welcome back to another video on Future State's The Next Batman. Now, today we got issue number 2, 64 pages of content, 3 stories. The first story is The Next Batman Part 2 with Tim Fox. And then the second story is about the Batgirls, Cassandra Cain, Stephanie Brown, and Barbara Gordon. Now, the third story is about the Gotham City Sirens, Catwoman, Poison Ivy, and more, right? Now, all 3 of these stories are set in 2025, so near in the future, not far in the future. And all you need to know is that the Magistrate has taken over Gotham City, Bruce Wayne is supposedly dead, the Batman's gone, and we also have the Bat family that's kinda separated. A bunch of the members are separated, and there's some stuff I want to discuss at the end of this video about the Future State timeline and how some of this is very confusing. But for now though, let's dive into Future State's The Next Batman number 2. Set in the year 2025. It's nighttime in Gotham City. We begin with Batman finding a man who was beaten to death. He has massive blunt force trauma. The person who killed this man left his wallet and phone. This wasn't a robbery. The man is still bleeding out. Batman wants to be stealthy in his investigation. But there's no reason for that anymore. A security camera is pointed right at him. The police will arrive in a matter of minutes. Batman uses the explosive device to break into the restaurant. He kicks down the door into a security room. Batman goes through all the security footage to find out what happened. Batman analyzes the footage. 2 supposed criminals beat the guy to death. There's no face recognition. The police arrive 40 seconds earlier than expected. They're getting better. The police walk through the restaurants. One officer looks up and sees Batman coming at him. Batman dismantles all but one police officer. The last of the officers points his gun at Batman. Batman escapes through a restaurant window. The police stand outside ready. They say, "Hands up." Batman gets out his yellow batarangs and throws them at the police. Batman runs as fast as he can. The police shoot Batman in the ribs. He's bleeding now. Batman falls to the ground. The police approach. Batman throws a smoke bomb. The police lose sight of the vigilante. But that's when they look into an alley. Out of the alley comes Batman riding on a motorcycle. The police try to shoot, but Batman drives off. Batman calls on his associate, Val. Batman has transferred the footage he found to Val. Batman tells Val to see what evidence he can dig up. Magistrate drones approach. Batman ends his call with Val, his associates, and drives his motorcycle into an alley. He shuts off his phone so he can't be tracked by the magistrate drones. Batman heads after the criminals who killed the beaten man. We shift to Tanya Fox talking with Mayor Nakano of Gotham City. She says the magistrate's shoot-on-sight orders are not good enough. Nakano is surprised that Tanya is against his laws. Tanya says she agrees with taking down vigilantes. What they've done to her family, her husband, her daughter, Tamara, wasn't right. She says the laws are not standing up to the challenge of taking down masks. Nakano promotes Tanya to DA so she can make law enforcement rock solid in Gotham. Nakano says he's trying to do things different with law. They tried going full force on the vigilantes, but it didn't stand up to the legal challenge. Tanya tells Nakano that what he is doing with the Peacekeepers and magistrates are forcing the law even more. There's nothing fair about any of what Nakano's doing. Tanya is against the city's firepower. Nakano responds, "The city contracts its ordinance through Fox Tech. If you have problem with firepower, maybe you should talk to your husband." Tanya says, "Lucius and I had a few conversations." Nakano says, "Have a few more. Have you tried stopping Batman with just an ordinary gun?" Tanya grits her teeth and says, "No, I haven't, but it'd be my pleasure to try." We shift to Batman hiding in a storage area, his motorcycle parts. He takes off his mask. It's Tim Fox. Tim has used compression packs to stop his bleeding. He rests. He's afraid that if he can't take down the police, How will he take down the Peacekeepers? Tim calls his partner Vol. Vol gives him a location on where the criminals he was looking for are at. Vol asks, "Is this worth getting caught up with Peacekeepers?" Tim says it is. What these criminals did to the victim he saw, they are animals. Tim says, "I walked away from justice once. Never again." Tim drives off his motorcycle. We shift to Peacekeepers at the scene of the being man. They discuss how they must catch Batman or find the criminals who committed the crime before Peacekeeper number 1 gets involved. A detective asks for the Peacekeepers' help. The Peacekeeper captain says, "Not our problem, detective." He explains that the Peacekeepers' job isn't to protect the citizens of Gotham or investigate crime scenes. Their job is to kill the They discuss how they must catch Batman or find the criminals who commit the crime before Peacekeeper number 1 gets involved. Questions if these Peacekeepers are the best thing for Gotham. We shift to the two criminals about to break into a building. Batman shows up. The criminals try to fight back, but Batman dismantles both of them. They lose their weapons. Batman starts punching one of the criminals non-stop until the other criminal shouts, "Stop!" It's a woman. She asks Batman not to hurt her husband. She was the one who killed the being man. Batman asks, "Why?" The husband gets up and says, "Because he killed our daughter." The man Batman found dead, he was not a good man. He got into a girl's head, told her to visit him. That little girl was never found again, so her parents went on the dark web and found someone to kill the man who made their daughter disappear. The woman says to Batman, the man was a murderer. The guilty deserve to be punished. You are the Batman. Don't you believe that?" Batman thinks for a second, then agrees. The guilty should be punished. Both the parents should be punished too, though. They murdered a man. The wife says, "That monster took our little girl. We have nothing. What else can you do to us?" Lights shine in the alley. Batman looks. The Peacekeepers arrive. The captain says, "Batman is not the one you have to worry about. We are." Batman stands ready to fight. Heading into Future State Batgirls, the story also set in 2025, we see Cassandra Cain. She is escorted into the Magistrate Detention Facility. All around her in the prison cells is villains she knows, but also heroes as well like Beast Boy, Big Barda, and Jimmy Olsen. Now, some of the heroes are frightened. If the Magistrate is taking down Cassandra Cain, then the Resistance doesn't stand a chance. The officer throws Cass down to the floor. A bunch of the villains inside cells want Cassandra Cain. They want to kill her. Others see that she is just a kid. They want to help her. The officer tells Cassandra Cain, "You talk, you get transferred to tomorrow. You don't, well, you can stay with these animals." Cass doesn't respond. The officer says, "This will go a lot smoother if you cooperate. I'm being nice now. You should thank me. I want to know how you people are getting information. I want to know who you are and who your leader is." Cass doesn't respond once again. The officer gets frustrated and lets Cass walk toward her cell. The officer puts Cass in her cell. Cass's roommate greets her. Her roommate is Stephanie Brown, aka Spoiler. She says, "What, Cass? Nothing to say to your old friends?" "That's fine. You never were a talker. Still, I got a lot of questions about you." Cass punches a wall. She's frustrated. Stephanie tells Cass not to get emotional. Getting emotional is not a good idea in this detention facility. Stephanie says, "I've made friends in low places. They won't take kindly to you getting fresh with me. I guess you've heard how I've gone feral. A traitor, as Nightwing calls it, to the cause." Plus, there's a lot of tension in the prison now that Cass has arrived. Stephanie says, Still, there are some folks who can be real friendly, but will you lower yourself to pay?" Cass responds, "I suppose it would be too much to expect, Spoiler, that someone who has sunk so low would do the right thing." Spoiler responds, "Well, we were family, and when that meant something. Once a Batgirl, always a Batgirl. Am I right?" Cass says. And if I join you, how do I know you would not betray my trust? Spoiler says. That's the question, isn't it? Spoiler gives Cass a deal. If Cass tells her about how she got caught, then she'll give Cass the means to escape in the prison, or at least get some privacy. Now, Spoiler puts her hand on Cass's shoulder. Cass pulls her hand off and twists it. Cass says, "Do not touch me. I owe you nothing, and nothing is what you will get, traitor. We are no longer family or allies, but out of respect for the past, I'll leave you in peace." Cass walks away. Spoiler smiles and says, "Miss you too, babe." We fast forward to the next day. All the villains stand and discuss how they can get some privacy, maybe escape. Chia notices Cassandra Cain walk in. Chia wonders if Cass was a part of the Bat family. Rumors are spraying around that Cass was. Cass asks where Odysseus is. One of the prisoners responds, "He's dead, kid. Stop wasting your time searching for the king." Jimmy Olsen comes forth and says he knows a place called the Hole. Cass ignores Jimmy, even though he has some sources. Cass asks more prisoners about Odysseus. One prisoner says, "Odysseus is in the underworld. You need a sacrificial goat." Cass says, "I'll manage." We fast forward to day 3. Cass asks Killer Frost, Killer Croc, and Jason Todd. All the villains don't fight back. They are ordered not to by Spoiler. Cass finds out and immediately goes after Spoiler. Cass finds Spoiler talking with Livewire and Zaz. Cass tells Livewire and Zaz to get out. She has unfinished business with Spoiler. Spoiler blows smoke into Cass's face. She says, "So, you finally ready to humble yourself and ask me for help?" Cass responds, "You have made it clear that in order for me to get what I want, I have to go through you. You want my attention. You'll regret that now." Spoiler punches at Cass, but Cass blocks. The fight begins. Cass overwhelms Spoiler. Spoiler says, "I'm trying to help you, Cass. Will you just wait and listen for 1 second? Cass kicks Spoiler in the face and says, "There's nothing that you have to say that I care to hear." Spoiler says, "That's enough." She fights back. Cass responds, "If you didn't want us to fight, you shouldn't have betrayed us." Spoiler agrees and suggests they keep fighting. Spoiler catches Cass's hits, but Cass then throws Spoiler at the wall. You hear a crack. Both Spoiler and Cass are electrocuted. Both women are knocked out. The security officer shows up. He's now going to put Cass in solitary confinement. We fast forward to day 4. Cass gets a tray of food in her solitary confinement room. She finds a comm in her tray. She puts it in her ear and Spoiler speaks through it. Spoiler reveals to Cass that they are both on the same side. They've both been going after Odysseus. Cass is shocked and says, but you betrayed us. Why?" Spoiler knew Cass's plans. In order to help, she had to go undercover and go to this prison. Cass asks, "What happened, Stephanie?" Stephanie responds, "It's been a long year." Stephanie explains that when Oracle went missing and Batman died, she lost hope. She went to Nightwing. He said she had to get her hands dirty to succeed. Stephanie needed to be on the other side. She had to be a criminal. Stephanie asked Cass if she could trust her now. Cass says she's sorry for doubting. She thought Stephanie betrayed the Bat family. Cass says, "A few months ago, I was getting messages. They were simple but effective. The Bat was alive. The messages led me here. If Batman's still alive, trapped in here, you have connections, Steph. I'm asking, please, will you help me?" Stephanie agrees. She will help Cass. But she tells Cass first, remember, once a Batgirl, always a Batgirl. We see a couple cells down below. Barbara Gordon, Oracle, lays in confinement. She is Odysseus. This is what pretty much Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown, Spoiler, has been referring to. This is the person they're going after. Oracle went missing, but she's actually here. Now, we fast forward to day 5. Stephanie asks Cass what her plan is once they find Odysseus, Oracle. Cass says, "I have a way, but only one chance at it." Stephanie forms a meeting of inmates. She convinces Big Barda to help the cause. She convinces Beast Boy to help her as well. Beast Boy owes Stephanie a favor. Stephanie gets help from Zaz and Livewire. If Cass wants her plan to go through, she needs a distraction. We fast forward to day 6. We see a Peacekeeper get ambushed by Livewire and Zaz. This leads to a standoff between the Peacekeeper army and all these different inmates, all these villains and heroes pretty much teaming up together. Now, this whole plan blows Spoiler's cover, but she wants to look into Oracle and Batman's eyes once again. She wants to succeed. Now, the prison riots begins. Heading into future states, Gotham City Sirens, the story also set in 2025, we see Catwoman, Poison Ivy, and Dee Dee. Catwoman is running out of time to pull off a heist. She's climbing up a building trying to get inside. She tries to contact Dee Dee. Dee Dee stares at Dee Dee Prime, a statue. Poison Ivy comes from behind Dee Dee. She asks, "Are you okay?" Dee Dee stares at the statue and says, "I will be. I understand that revenge helps." That's when the alarms go off. Catwoman tells Poison Ivy that Dee Dee may be a traitor. She maybe set them up to be caught. But that's when Poison Ivy helps Catwoman inside. The Gotham City Sirens leap off the building. Poison Ivy helps guide her comrades down with her vines. But that's when the police arrive. They aren't here for the Gotham City Sirens. They didn't set off the alarms. It was some robbers, some random robbers. Dee Dee falls off her vine and almost blows the Siren's cover to the police. Catwoman catches her barely. Dee Dee is having a great time. We see Peacekeepers electrocuting an old man. He took off his mask, but he still deserves punishment. Catwoman watches and wants to save the man. Poison Ivy tells her not to. They need to flee. They have Dee Dee who can help them take down Dilton, a businessman. Catwoman jumps down and attacks the Peacekeepers. One Peacekeeper accidentally shocks the other. The Peacekeeper attacks. He says, "I know about you, cat lady. You are wanted by the magistrates, and I'm taking you to them myself." But that's when Dee Dee jumps and lands on the Peacekeeper. The Peacekeeper falls, but then gets back up and goes to attack. But Dee Dee electrocutes the Peacekeeper's face. Catwoman is impressed. The other Peacekeeper gets up and goes to attack Catwoman from behind. Poison Ivy shows up and takes out the Peacekeeper. That's when Cyberbots show up. Dee Dee is scared. She knows about the Cyberbots. They're dangerous. Catwoman is already aware. The Gotham City Sirens flee. They head to a secret spot, a nightclub. A weird octopus-looking animal welcomes the women in. Catwoman goes to the bar and says hi to the one and only Slam Bradley. Slam Bradley meets Poison Ivy and Dee Dee. Slam goes to shake Dee Dee's hand. Catwoman prefers he nots. Slam offers the house special of drinks at the bar. Poison Ivy is open to that as long as it has an umbrella. Slam gets the drinks ready. Catwoman and Poison Ivy welcome Dee Dee to the Gotham City Sirens. The Sirens get their drinks on and toast to their newest member, Dee Dee. Dee Dee goes to get more drinks. Poison Ivy and Catwoman get hit on by some guys. They go to dance. The Gotham City Sirens end up having a good night at the club. We flash back to the night before. Poison Ivy and Catwoman sneak into Dilton's house. Dilton is a bachelor like Bruce Wayne. Dilton has been funding the Cyberbots. He has all the information about these Cyberbots. Now, Catwoman tries to find the information, but Poison Ivy then hears music from inside the house. They're curious. Poison Ivy and Catwoman go inside and find Dee Dee sitting in a chair. Dee Dee is a robot. This is how they meet Dee Dee. Now, Dee Dee is watching Sex in the City. She gets up and hugs Poison Ivy. Dee Dee asks Ivy what she's doing in the house. Poison Ivy says, "I'm here to use the computer. Dilton said it was okay." Turns out Dee Dee is the computer with the information Catwoman and Poison Ivy need. Dee Dee makes a deal. She'll help Catwoman and Poison Ivy, but she wants a good girls' night out in return. She wants to be like the people on TV, like in Sex in the City. Fast forward at the nighttime at the club. Catwoman and Ivy held up their end of the deal. Dee Dee sees on TV that Dilton has married a girl. Dee Dee gets upset and goes to the bathroom. Poison Ivy and Catwoman follow her. Dee Dee thought Dilton loved her, but she's just a robot. She accepts the fact that she was just an experiment. Catwoman wants to expose Dilton. Dee Dee agrees. She's totally fine with going against her creator now that he has betrayed her. The Gotham City Sirens go back out on the dance floor. Catwoman says goodbye to Slam Bradley. Slam Bradley goes to turn up the music for the Gotham City Sirens so they can dance better. But that's when he's shot in the back by these Cyberbots. These Cyberbots shoot very fast. Selena Kyle, aka Catwoman, is shot in the chest. She falls to the ground on the dance floor. Selena bleeds out. And that's how we end Future States, The Next Batman, number 2. So that was Future States, The Next Batman, number 2. Alright, and going into the first story, Chapter 2 of The Next Batman, written by John Ridley and drawn by Laura Baraka. First off, the artwork was really strong. I really liked the artwork. It looked awesome, and the action sequences, and just how the facial expressions were, and the different, choir moments. The artist did a great job on this. It wasn't as good as last issue's artwork. Last issue's artwork was really good, but this issue's artwork was still really good. Now, the writing by John Ridley, I thought it was good, but I expect a little more, right? Because John Ridley, I know he can deliver, an amazing script, amazing story. But right now, he's just giving us a solid story. It's still solid in this issue. This issue of The Next Batman, Chapter 2, it's good. It's cool seeing Batman in action, fighting out against the Peacekeepers, the police force. He goes after these 2 criminals. He goes on this case. We actually see Tim Fox Batman do some detective work. It's interesting in the ending where he confronts the Peacekeepers, or more like the Peacekeepers confront him. It gets me excited for next issue, but that's about it. There's another setup issue that doesn't really push momentum. I want more momentum in this story, but guys, one thing I found interesting was Tim Fox Batman. I really like how John really goes in his mind in this issue, how pretty much Tim Fox is worried that if he can't fight out against the regular police, how will he fight out against the Peacekeepers? And you see Tim deal with how much punishment he should give to criminals. He doesn't want to be as cruel as, say, the Peacekeepers, but he still has to be Batman. So yeah, I like that, and also it was cool to get a confirmation that this Batman is Tim Fox. Last issue, they're going back and forth of, oh, is it Luke Fox or Tim Fox? But this issue, it confirms. It's Tim Fox. No more confusion, which is good. Now, going to the second story called Batgirls. This is chapter 1 of the story, written by Vida Ayala, and we had some pretty good artwork in this story. The artwork, I thought it was good. It wasn't amazing. It was pretty good throughout, though. It set the tone, and it fit with, the action sequences. The action sequences of the story was really cool. But the story itself, I thought was a little, I didn't really... It was kind of mad to me. It wasn't that great. Because, okay, we see Cassandra Cain. I always like seeing Cassandra Cain, and she's not bad in the story. She still kicks ass. She beats up Spoiler, and she tries to get the job done. Because she's here looking for Oracle. Or that's what I think she's looking for. It doesn't confirm that Odysseus is Oracle, because Cass keeps asking about this person named Oyas, but Oyas is not a decent character. And later in the story, we see that Oracle is down below in a cell. And earlier in this issue, we see Cassandra, she asks a prisoner, where's Odysseus? And the man says, oh, Odysseus is in the underworld. You need a sacrificial goat. Now, underworld, down below, where Oracle is, it's kind of confusing writing, but I think that's where they're going with. I think that Cassandra Cain is there to find Oracle, pretty much save her, and that's why she's using the codename Odysseus, not to give it away. Maybe that's my theory, but it was very confusing. And what's also confusing is you see Killer Croc here, and I'm like, wait, how is Killer Croc here? This is set in 2025, and at the same time, we got the Arkham Knight storyline pretty much 2025, same year. In the Arkham Knight storyline, we see the Arkham Knights, Astrid Arkham, Two-Face, Zaz is there as well. So they actually free Killer Croc. So in that storyline, Zaz and Killer Croc are with Astrid Arkham, but in this storyline, they're with Spoiler, Stephanie Brown. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. It's one thing, before I was a little confused about Future States, but I let slide because the timeline, some issues would be years apart, so I'm like, okay, these characters could have went on a different journey. But this is set in the same year as Arkham Knights from the last Next Batman issue, so it don't make sense, alright? How are these characters in the same place at the same time? And also, in this issue, we see, I think that's Jason Todd. You see Jason has the white in his hair and stuff, and Chia calls him Jason, so it may be a different character. I may be wrong about that, but if it is Jason Todd, then that's another thing that's confusing. Because in Robin Eternal, which is also set in 2025, yep, another issue set in 2025. That issue, Robin, Team Drake said that Jason Todd was with the magistrates. So why is he the prisoner to the magistrate now? Like, he's actually supposed to be working with them, not against them. So, this story is just so confusing. But the ending is kind of cool with, like, a prison riots and Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain finally become allies. I did like that dynamic. Stephanie Brown, at first, I was like, okay, this don't make sense with everything else going on. But now that she's went to Nightwing and she's kind of going undercover, maybe. But then again, if this is set in 2025, Stephanie Brown is in Robin Eternal with Tim Drake. So how is she in two places at once? That was the thing that ruined the story for me. The story itself wasn't bad. Okay, Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown team up to do a prison riots to get out of this, like, detention facility and find Batman Oracle. Sounds cool. But with all these characters showing up and they're in other, like, stories like Robin Eternal or the last next Batman issue, it's just so confusing, alright? And I'm sorry if I confused you guys. I'm just going through this right now, what I think about the story. But yeah, this is a very weak story to me. Yeah, cool concept, but it's just weighed down by all the confusion. Now, the third story is called Gotham City Sirens, right? Future State Gotham City Sirens, also set in 2025. We see Catwoman, Poison Ivy, and Dee Dee. Which, okay, here, this is not confusing. Because if they had Harley Quinn here, I'd be like, okay, that's super confusing, because Harley Quinn had her own title, but she's not here, which is good. We have Dee Dee instead. Dee Dee's kind of an interesting character, but the whole story is very quick. It's kind of action-packed. It's a nice, fun story that has a pretty good ending, a cool cliffhanger. But the story itself is very a quick read and not very interesting. Like, I kind of was wondering why it was put in here. It's not important at all, and I didn't really care for it. Like, the Gotham City Sirens have never been my favorite characters. I like them individually, but them as a group I never got really appeal from. Like, sometimes they're great, like Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, Catwoman teaming up all together, sometimes it's great, but most of the time we get these simple, who cares storylines, and this is one of them, but without Harley Quinn. So yeah, it was just, I didn't really care for that storyline. It felt like they needed another story to add into this issue to make it 64 pages, so they added in that one. So yeah guys, overall this issue, Next Batman #2, was weaker than the first issue because the chapter 2 of the Next Batman by John Ridley, it's still solid, but it wasn't amazing. It's not enough to carry this issue to greatness. And then the other two stories, the second one's really weak, the Batgirls one, because it's so confusing to figure out what's going on. And the concept's good, but it doesn't fit with Future State continuity. And the final story is just so simple and not really important that it just doesn't really matter. So yeah guys, overall, I'm gonna give Future State the Next Batman #2 6.5 out of 10. I feel like it misses the mark, and you're probably like, wow, that's kind of harsh. But yeah, like, I like John Ridley's story. It was solid. I'd probably give that on its own 8 out of 10. But the other stories are so, like, not really that good. Like, they're very weak that it weighs down the entire issue. But yeah, guys, you tell me your thoughts on this issue down below. I was kind of disappointed, but I'm still looking forward to next issue, because next issue will have the Outsiders and the Arkham Knights back, which those stories were better backups than the backups in this issue. But yeah guys, if you like the video, give a big thumbs up, new channel, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on my next Future States, the Next Batman video. And yeah, thanks for watching, I really appreciate it, and peace out.